morning, good afternoon, everybody. We're back for Subplot, episode 3. We're here on a little bit of a delay because we'll get into it, but there was supposed to be quite a bit of news, we thought. But anyway, there's still stuff to talk about, so we're gonna start with some of the stuff that was announced and talked about on the anniversary of Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the date already, but
which coincidentally fell on Election Day, which is also a national disaster holiday.
Yeah, disaster of a different kind.
Yeah.
So we kind of made a little list here. You were talking about that there was a Godzilla zipline ride kind of thing?
Yes, there is. It's on one of the smaller islands in Japan. I already forget the name, but it's a ride where you literally zip line into Shin Godzilla's mouth.
Oh.
Like they built a full size bust of Shin Godzilla, and he's crouched down on the ground, and you zip line off of a platform down into his mouth, and there's steam and the purple LED lights and everything.
Wow!
And it's really neat because it's a life size thing. They made it to be to scale of Shin Godzilla. So I mean, it's really cool.
That'd be terrifying because his mouth is terrifying.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I want to see it just to be able to see it and just wrap my head around. God damn, he's how big.
Yeah.
Just imagine if it was on 2 feet.
Because he's much bigger in Shin Godzilla than most.
Yeah, he is the second biggest live action Godzilla.
Yeah.
Aside from 2019's King of the Monsters version.
Okay. Yeah. So that would be something to experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's on my bucket list now.
Yeah.
To go there and see that.
Absolutely. These next two are kind of just there.
Yeah. I mean,
you can explain the
yeah, apparently it was a big deal, the Hamtaro Godzilla skin for something. I don't know. I really didn't pay much attention to this because I was just kind of I was I don't care.
I had never even heard of it until now.
I've watched Hamtaro before. I guess they did a little Godzilla thing where they sold toys that had Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Mothra skins to them.
Yeah.
But it made its return, and apparently it was this tease thing.
So
and everything.
are they kind of like pop figures kind of thing?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
It started out as a TV show, and I mean it's a cute little show. I mean it's for little kids, but I mean they're little hamsters and everything, and I mean it's fun to watch. But I mean this was apparently a big deal to some people, and I just personally I just didn't get it. I was oh, that's neat, but
I mean if you get enjoyment out of it, whatever.
Yeah, I just kind of passed that over. I was oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and another skin-related thing is apparently there was a skin that you could get on Fall Guys. Did you have to buy it, or is it a free? I
think you could buy it, but it was just in anticipation for the anniversary of Godzilla Day, November 3rd, which in recent years has become, and I'm sure it's just because they've put movies out since.
Yeah.
But November 3rd, I used to know that date by heart, and I was oh, that's Godzilla Day. And now people are putting 2 and 2 together, and they're recognizing it, and I'm I've been celebrating this for 15 years. Why haven't the rest of you people just celebrated it with me?
Yeah.
All of a sudden now everyone's jumping on the train ooh, November 3rd, it's Godzilla Day. And it's yeah, I've known that.
I mean, I'll be one of the bandwagoners, but that's just because I had never seen the original until we started doing this project. So.
Ooh, and I put out a piece of art for Godzilla Day.
Yeah.
That was Akira inspired, because I always liked the way. Oh, you made it your background. That's awesome. I wanted to get that aesthetic. Yeah. And I was oh, okay. And I kept looking at the Akira poster, and I was I can do something related to this. I was but what? And I started thinking about it, and I was okay. I was first thing I know is Gojira, and then I want to put the kanji for Gojira across it like Akira.
Yeah, that's great.
And I was okay, that looks cool. And then I was well, what do I add? And I was oh, I want the silhouette of Godzilla standing in front of the sun, but I want it to be red with white and black, and then I made the sun kind of have clouds in front of it, sort of forming a mushroom cloud if you look closely at it.
Okay.
And I was like,
I don't know if I noticed that.
Yeah, like if you look like the clouds,
yeah.
the clouds have like sort of like moved in down towards the bottom of the sun, making it kind of look like a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very vague, but like that was the idea I was going for, and I was like, that'd be cool. And then I had the celebrating 66 years of Godzilla on it.
I love the city landscape, like.
Oh yeah, because I really wanted to make him look big.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how do I do that? So I just took like a cityscape and just multiplied the layer on it and changed the shading so it made him look a lot bigger in the background. And then of course I used the 1954 design. In fact, I set up my Monster Arts figure and then drew from that.
Okay.
And I was like, draw that, drop him in, and then do that. I mean, it turned out neat. I don't know if I'd ever like turn it into a print or anything, but it's cool.
I mean, I'd buy
cool
it.
Piece. Yeah, well, maybe I'll do it then. Maybe
I would buy it. Maybe take away the 66 years just because that kind of like time, puts it in that time frame, but or dates it is what I'm trying to say. But
I'd probably just take that off of there.
But it's a great piece. Check our Twitter. I think what's on there? I don't know. We'll put it on there.
Yeah, we'll throw it on.
Speaking of the anniversary, I guess, because that's the whole thing we're talking about. We're not sure if it's confirmed.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It's alleged because
I saw screenshots.
Yes, Kaiju News outlet posted it, but then they retracted their statement.
Okay.
But then put it back on. That allegedly the original 1954 Godzilla is getting a color treatment. So if this is true, this is huge news.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to see this movie in color. I mean, I'm so used to seeing it in black and white.
Right.
But I would absolutely love to see it in color.
Well, that's like the figure for.
Oh yeah.
Like you look at the box and it's in color, and you're like, that'd be cool.
And then you watch the movie.
And then you watch the movie.
Black and white. Now they make figures of Godzilla of like what his color is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And there are two different ones. Like I have one of them that is, the majority of my 1954 figures are all charcoal gray, but there's one that is brown.
Okay.
And if you notice in the one shot that somebody screen capped, that Godzilla up over the hill is brown in that. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, that's going to be neat to see. So, I mean, it's, and I'm sure that they're just, if they make a color thing, I mean, you're going to see so many more figures released with a special color version and all of this.
Yeah.
They're going to have, like, vinyls, X+, SH Monster Arts, NECA. They're all going to, well, maybe not NECA anymore.
Yeah.
But they're going to all have to make, like, a special color version of Godzilla, since we're going to get that. I mean, if it's true, I'm super excited for that. If not, if it was just a trailer that they did in color, cool, anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would really
It would still need to
color
see
treatment.
the screenshots, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, the screenshots are really cool. Like
Yeah.
Godzilla shooting the blue fire down on Tokyo.
Yeah.
All the fire behind him and everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's really amazing looking, and I really hope that is indeed true, and they're going to give us a color treatment for it.
That'd be awesome.
It would be. But that was like that was one of the biggest things that they announced.
I mean, that's the only thing I even saw.
I was like, that's cool. I was like, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Like, but I expected a little bit more from this because they hyped it
I
up.
thought they would talk about like Shin Godzilla 2 or something.
Yeah, because they are doing a cinematic universe, and I thought that they were going to do a lot more. Because, I mean, this thing was called Godzilla Fest, and it was online. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a big online, like, convention type of thing, and I was hoping that there was going to be a lot more news, which, I mean, there may have been more news. It's only been 2 days. Maybe some of that stuff hasn't come out yet. Maybe it's like Hall H at Comic-Con where we're not going to find out about it until a month down the road or something when somebody leaked it and they're like, oh, hey, this happened, and it's like, oh. But I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, if that's the biggest news, that's big, though.
Yeah, it's big, definitely.
That's awesome. But yeah, just from my point of view, I expected a little bit more. I was so hyped up, and I was like, they're going to do this and this and this. And then I was excited to see that they had the color version stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I just expected it to go up from there, and then it just didn't go anywhere.
We don't have to go too far into it, but kind of a on-air question. Do you know how they do that? Like, how do they put color in something that is black and white?
If
Does it record in color technically?
No.
Okay.
If they shoot it in black and white, then it's just in black and white. Now they can go back and look at if there were production photos that were possibly in color, or just from eyewitness accounts of like what this color was. I mean, they could piece it together that way.
Okay.
And then if it's anything like you do in Photoshop to color a black and white image, you basically just overlay it with a color. And it's kind of like rotoscoping it. Like, you have to go in and just like make sure that piece is colored the same shade the whole way through, or whatever. Which, it's very time consuming, because everything has to, I mean, for continuity's sake, you have to have it perfectly set that way. But I mean, that's probably why it's taken this long. I mean, the movie's 66 years old.
Right.
But that's probably why it's taken this long, is they're like, hey, we got to do this, but we got to do it correct, and make sure that everything...
It's probably somebody's pet project.
Probably.
Because nobody... The studio, whoever owns the rights to it, obviously Toho, but obviously they're like... They wouldn't be like... All right, we have to do that. Like, somebody just really wants to do it.
Yeah,
and
somebody
Toho
was like,
probably
hey, let's do
all right.
this. And they're like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Sure. That'd be like Universal going, hey, we're doing King Kong in color again.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, you guys want to do that in color? I mean, like, that seems like, back in that time, I feel like there was so much more you could get away with without having, like... Imagine, I mean, I'm sure that they took their time and made sure everything still looked good. But, like, imagine if, like, Frankenstein, they're like, well, we don't have enough green paint to make him look monstrous. And they're like, who cares? It's in black and white. It doesn't matter. Paint him yellow. I don't care. Like, it'll show up black and white. Like, who cares? And I feel like that's how, like, if we were to watch what a color version would look like, I'm sure there'd be some like weird things in there where it's like, why is that color, but they're just like, hey, it's black and white, whatever.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if that is,
if there is truth behind it.
Yeah. So this wasn't part of the celebration per se, but since the last recording, a teaser trailer for Godzilla Singular Point has dropped.
Yes.
And it's roughly a minute? Is that?
Yeah, it's a minute and 15 seconds, I think.
Yeah,
something like
somewhere
that.
around there.
And it is jam-packed with
I mean,
all sorts of goodness to it.
From the perspective of me who, like, the ones, how do you say his name? Anguirus? Anguirus.
Yeah.
He shows up.
Yeah.
Like,
he looks awesome.
I wouldn't have known who that was if we hadn't been doing this. So like a lot of the things that you'll talk about here, I probably really didn't catch because I don't know.
I mean, there are a few really obscure ones that like you definitely you'll know when we reach them.
Yeah. But
you wouldn't know them just by looking at them.
But that being said, it didn't leave me any less excited.
No, of course not. I want to pull up a few of the images here. So in the trailer, we see Godzilla, of course. In the first sequence of the teaser, his mouth lights up, and you get to see the outline of his mouth and all that. And I think you get to see his eye too, but it's like very obscured by like red smoke and all that.
Yeah.
And throughout the trailer, we see Rodan, who is redesigned as like a giant pteranodon, which looks really cool. But he still has a lot of the same body features. Like he has the 2 points on his top of his head. He has the little spike, like the barbed spikes going down his rib cage and everything. And then we see Anguirus being, well, he's chasing after like a truck that has like a mounted some type of cannon or barbed. I don't even know what it is. Like it's some kind of weapon that they're trying to shoot at Anguirus. But Anguirus looks tough as nails.
He does.
I mean, he looks like a gigantic, beefed up Ankylosaurus. Oh, and that's the other thing. Like, Rodan is expelling some kind of red powder of some
trail.
kind. Yeah.
Like air trail or something.
And that seems to be like a recurring thing in the trailer, is this red cloud of dust. And so we meet a couple of characters along the way, what appears to be a young girl and a younger guy, who I'm assuming are our main characters.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they appear on the poster too, so they are our main characters. Oh, this is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
So I never in a million years would have thought that he would ever have made a comeback, but he did. Jet Jaguar is coming back, and I am absolutely thrilled about this.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about this too, with this anime is
I don't know anything about him.
Oh my god, he's
like,
awesome. He can change in size.
Okay.
He's an autonomous robot built by a guy who he was like a toy maker.
Okay.
And he built this robot called Jet Jaguar, and he can transform from being as tall as you or I to as tall as a kaiju. That's in the old movies, but in this movie, he seems like he's almost like a Jaeger. Like he's built to fight or do so, like kind of fight kaiju or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he's a weapon of some sort. So yeah, we got to see Jet Jaguar. We get to see what people are speculating to be Manda, the giant sea serpent, in the next one, which is
he looks pretty crazy.
Oh, this is another obscure kaiju that you'll know when we reach the movie. Is Ghidorah, which
I mean, he looks pretty gnarly.
Ghidorah, like I'll show you, or maybe you can pull up a picture on Google. Pull up a picture of, look up Godzilla Ghidorah. I feel like we're on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Mike, pull up that
if we
picture,
were only in video format.
Yeah, right.
Which we could be, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like this is what he looked like in 1969.
All right.
So I mean, that's what he looks like.
I mean,
I've always thought he's looked interesting.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
He's definitely different than any other kaiju.
He does look a lot like something. Again, I always do this comparison, but like that's straight out of Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then if we go back to the anime version,
yeah.
I mean, he looks really cool.
Oh, he looks like amazing.
I'm excited because this is a kaiju that showed up in Godzilla's Revenge or All Monsters Attack, which he is not a real kaiju. He's in the mind of a kid in the movie, so he's not like even a real kaiju. So for him to show up in this, like, is huge. Like everyone's so excited that.
So they could kind of go that way with it, or he could be an actual.
I'd prefer if he's an actual kaiju.
Yeah,
like that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want him to actually be a real kaiju. And then we have Anguirus chasing down this tank. Oh, he looks so cool. Yeah. And then we have what people are either.
Was that the same sea monster as?
People are thinking that that's either part of Manda, but I almost say that it's Ebirah, the sea monster, who's like a giant lobster. So I mean,
that would make sense.
Time will tell for that one, because this might be like an offspring of Rodan. I don't know. People keep
he doesn't look
showing,
very big.
No, and people keep showing like the image, and they're like, "Oh, it's Rodan." I'm like, "No, it's not. Like it's definitely different. It doesn't even have the two horns. It's just kind of a pteranodon that
looks like your go-to like." Yeah.
It looks like a mix between Titanosaurus, Rodan, Biollante, and I don't know what else. But all the teeth are pointing me to like Biollante.
Yeah, there's a lot of teeth in it.
Yeah. But and then we see like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
This is Titanosaurus, which is what everyone's thinking this one is.
He looks awesome.
Oh yeah, he's definitely cool. I mean, the redesigns for these kaiju are awesome looking. Yeah. Like, and they're things that no one really would have thought of, but I mean, they're just, they're breathtaking.
I love when a lot of people hate when people have their own like redesign of characters. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, a lot of people, for example, hated the newer Ninja Turtles and everything. But like, I love when people like it, and then like there's redesigns for everybody.
Yeah.
And like, it's just universal that everybody likes
and
it.
you know what? Nobody has really, like, hated on these designs for,
I haven't seen
for these
nothing.
monsters. But you know what I find funny, too? Is everybody hates on, like, somebody, like, on DeviantArt or something will make a redesign, and everyone's like, oh, it's shit. And then when a studio puts it out, they're like, it's beautiful. And it's like, it could be worse than what the guy on DeviantArt did. And they're just, like, bitching for the sake of bitching. But, but I mean, I haven't seen any negative comments on the kaiju so far.
I mean, I'm not obviously really in any group or anything like you probably are, but so like I'm not going to see the negativity. But
there's a Geiger counter thing, and here's a swarm of like tiny rodans.
It's almost,
which was interesting.
It's almost like
it's like Gauss. That's what I said. Like they're like Gauss, and they see. I mean, if they're all putting out like this red powder or whatever.
Yeah, because there's a big cloud of powder.
If they're all doing it like that Rodan was, then, I mean, this is obviously like a big threat to humanity.
Because that first one we saw, it looks like a chemtrail, is what it looks like. It's not as thick and persistent.
But like
as
we
this
see,
is,
Ghidorah is like encased in all that smoke, like the red smoke. So I mean,
he was surrounded.
Yeah, that's like a big play on this. Is like something with the red smoke.
Yeah.
But everybody's also theorizing that Singular Point has to do with Godzilla. Like all these monsters exist because they're some type of offshoot of Godzilla. Like if you look at the Godzilla design, like of the head. And you look at Anguirus, he has the same two, like, fangs down the side. And there are, like, small things that everyone was, like, taking. Like, Titanosaurus on his back has similar dorsal fins to Godzilla. So everyone is, like, thinking, ooh, maybe all these monsters are just offshoots. Like, you can see the dorsal fins.
Yeah.
But, like, they're thinking that they are offshoots of Godzilla. And that's why they all exist.
Yeah.
Like, he is the singular point that they all spawn from.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool.
Yeah.
But there's like a hangar bay, and then this is, I'm guessing that's like...
That looks like it'd almost be like a mural.
Yeah, like depicting Godzilla or something like that. Like in ancient times or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it looks like an ancient painting, or like a painting depicting something of... an old time. Like,
I think that's it, other than there's like a final shot of Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's the...
Or maybe that's not it. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I guess it's more so like 40 seconds.
Yeah, I thought that... Oh, yeah, there is like a little thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the red smoke, and then you see Godzilla's face.
Yeah, so you had said that... Thought that being at the beginning, but it's actually at the end.
No, actually, at the beginning there is that shot.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah, at the very beginning there is, or it's after this.
Yeah,
but it'll pop up here. It's like the same red smoke thing, but we get to see his mouth light up. Like it's the first, like you just see red, and then you see the glow of his mouth.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Before he does the heat ray.
See, I didn't realize that was even his mouth.
Yeah, because you really can't tell what's going on. But this,
I kind of thought it was his tail lighting up.
Yeah,
is what I thought it was.
This is all like this is more traditional anime.
Yeah,
like with 2D animation with some 3D animation. But I prefer the 2D. I didn't care much for Polygon's like 3D animation of everything in the anime trilogy.
Yeah.
And I'm not...
I haven't watched that, so I don't even know what it even looks like.
I'm not the biggest fan of the anime trilogy. The second one's really good, in my opinion, but like I've watched them each once and haven't gone back to rewatch them just because I'm like,
really?
Whatever. Like this seems like it has a good layout for a story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm pretty excited for it. And it comes out April 2021. So if we're all still here in April 2021, hopefully we'll get to watch it.
Taxes haven't risen to the...
yeah. If we're all still alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's...
That's giving me hope for a good Godzilla anime. Like that's what I want.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't even know. It looks like, I'm gonna call it traditional anime.
Yeah,
because like I don't know the technical terms for anime and all that, but
where's Sean when you need him?
Right? Yeah, yeah. He should.
Resident Weeb should be here so he can tell us all the jargon we're looking for.
Well, if my brother was still in the room, he could also inform us. But yeah, so that's exciting stuff. I can't wait for that to drop, and it's probably all going to drop at once because it's Netflix.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then I'll binge the hell out of it.
Yep, probably.
I'll take off work. I'll take off work, and we'll just binge the entire thing. You, me, and Sean will all just sit down and watch the anime. Well, hopefully by that time we're through our main storyline of this podcast.
We'll have to sit down and map it out because maybe we can, like, if we need to, maybe do a little bit more for a couple episodes if need be.
Do like 3 years.
That way it lands properly.
Actually, once we get through the Showa series, which we're about halfway through, it's pretty smooth sailing from there. Because there's 7 Heisei movies, and then there's 5 Millennium movies, 1 American movie in between there. I mean, we're pretty well ahead. In fact, I think right now where we're sitting, we have 8 more in the Showa series to go. So I mean, we're about halfway through.
I'll sit down and do some math that I'm terrible at.
And then after the Millennium, I mean, we only have a couple movies after that. Right. So we're trucking away. We're trucking away with this.
Probably don't even have to actually watch the recent ones. Like
because we can just recant those because we've watched them each. Like, oh god, I don't know.
I just recently watched 14?
Oh, the one with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah. I just watched that recently. So
we can lump that all in with the MonsterVerse.
Yeah,
Kong and all that. That could be a trilogy piece.
Okay,
that we do. But anyway,
yeah. So that's really the biggest stuff coming out of for lack of a better term, Godzilla Day.
Yeah, I mean, which honestly, the anime didn't.
Wasn't really part of it.
Wasn't part of it, but I mean, it's a big deal.
It might as well have been. Deal. It was only.
It's like a week before.
Roughly a week. So, they probably just wanted to get it out and have it out.
Yeah, so probably wanted to see the hype. Like, like who's all on board for this?
Right.
Which we all collectively are on board for that.
Yes. So, leaving the news portion of the episode, we are going to talk about Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster,
and Invasion of Astro-Monster.
Yes.
Its sequel.
Yeah, so it's great how like things are pairing up properly.
Yeah, and well, the funny thing about the Godzilla series is aside from the anime, like there really isn't a trilogy to anything. Like everything is either a direct sequel to the last one, and then it's like the movies in between won't recognize it, but then another movie down the road will be like, oh yeah, we know about Ghidorah, and it'll connect, but you're like, so wait a minute, is this movie in the same timeline? It gets all confusing. Because half of the Godzilla series is direct sequels to the original, or they have something to do with a movie that came down the line, but it wasn't in like a continual stretch of movies where it actually lines up.
Yeah.
But I mean that's a whole that could be a whole other episode about us talking about timelines.
Yeah.
And, just wait till we get to the Heisei series when time travel happens and then nothing makes sense for the rest of the series.
Can't wait to record our next episode of the normal podcast because we got to talk about that Star Wars holidays special.
Oh,
did you see the trailer?
The Lego one?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see the trailer.
Oh god, we're gonna watch it after we record. Anyway, we shouldn't talk about that here because that's not Godzilla. But anyway, so the first movie is good. Like I said, Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster from 1964. 64.
It was made the same year as Mothra versus Godzilla.
Wow.
It was rushed into production.
I was going to say, that's pretty crazy.
And I think they used the same suit with a few modifications.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a sequel. It is. It is a sequel to Godzilla vs. Mothra because there are tie-ins that happen that they harken back to that movie.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the synopsis because I want to talk about the one thing that makes no damn sense.
I don't know if you want to read this one.
Sure, I'll take this one. A princess who gets controlled by aliens from Venus, who assassins are after, who a police officer must protect. Wow, that did not seem like a real sentence.
Right.
Meanwhile, Godzilla and Rodan return to wreak some havoc on Japan. Oh my god, did a 2-year-old write this?
I don't know.
While that is happening, a meteor crash lands on Earth, which holds a 3-headed space dragon, King Ghidorah. Will Godzilla let the Earth be destroyed by King Ghidorah, or will he help Rodan and Mothra to save the Earth from this 3-headed dragon? Oh, wow.
I mean, the end part of that was a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, but some of it was like not even
Yeah.
written in a comprehensible language. Anyway, so there are a few differences right off the bat with the storyline. The princess, who is from, they say the name Sardinia, I think is. It's in the Himalayas.
Okay.
But she is a princess from that province or whatever, and she Princess Selena, Serginia. Okay.
Yeah.
So she there is a plot to kill her, and they set a bomb on her plane.
Right.
And the guy was like, yeah, it's going to happen. But, like, meanwhile, there's a meteor shower going on, and there are a bunch of these scientists who are convinced that these are aliens who are going to show them something. And they do show up, and they tell the princess, jump out of this plane because you're going to die. So she jumps out of the plane right before the bomb goes off, and then she is found by a fisherman who gives gives her his clothes. Yeah. And then she is out in public.
In exchange for the bracelet?
The bracelet, right? Yes, because that was a telltale sign. They had to find... If they were to find her, she always had the bracelet. Right. So these guys, these assassins, were looking for her because it was rumored that she was still alive. So the assassins are looking for her while this police officer who was assigned to be her bodyguard when she landed in Japan... goes looking for her, and so are the assassins. So we have this plot where the assassins and the police officer have altercations back and forth while he's trying to get the princess to safety. But in the meantime, the princess is out in public telling people, at least in the American version, she tells people that she is from Mars. In the American version, she says she's from Mars, she's a Martian, because, like, this alien has, like, taken over her mind, and she is, like, telling the stories of old Mars and how Ghidorah destroyed Mars. And
was it the Japanese version, or just...
the
English...
Yeah, the English version is Mars.
Okay.
But the Japanese version is Venus.
Okay. Because that's the one I watched.
And they probably said Venus.
They did say Venus, yeah.
She claims she's a Martian in the American version. So she...
because that's more believable.
Yeah, Martian. I mean, War of the Worlds was big at that time. So.
Yeah.
But, so she tells people that she's a Martian, and she warns them that the meteorite that crash lands in the gully, like, in some forested area of Japan, holds the monster King Ghidorah. And everybody's like, yeah, you're insane, whatever, you know. Yeah. They pay no mind to her. So scientists and his team go out to find the meteorite because it crashed there. So they're like, well, we got to find it and, examine it or whatever. And they find the meteorite completely intact, and it's magnetized. So all their tools end up attaching to it, and it grows bigger by the day. Until it finally cracks open and Ghidorah is born of the fire that was inside and manifests and starts to destroy some stuff. But off the bat, the fairies show up at the beginning of this movie because there's a television show called Where Are They Now? And
right.
The kid who was on the show asks, he wants to see Mothra. So the fairies come out and they tell, we'll show you Mothra and everything. And he's asking about Mothra, and they're like, oh, as you know, the older one died and all that, but the baby or whatever lives on the island. And I'm like, weren't there two?
Yeah.
I'm like, where's the second one? Did it just die and nobody said anything?
Yeah.
Did they kill it and eat it? Like,
Sudden Mothra death.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, it's never explained.
Yeah.
But now, like, in continuity for the rest of the show series, there's only one Mothra larva, and it never changes. At least I don't think it ever changes, because in the next movie there is a full-grown Mothra, but it's not the same one. Like, it's just never explained.
Yeah.
But there's only one Mothra larva, and I'm like, could they not afford to make another one? Like, what's the deal there?
When
like,
they already had been made?
Yeah, like, I don't understand. Like, did you...
Or did they only use one? Did we ever see them together?
No. There was. They were together when the egg hatched.
Okay.
Because they were both in the egg. But, like, did you not question that, too? Like, were you like, wait a minute, why is there only one now?
I just forgot.
Yeah, like, I'm like, there was two. I'm like, and they're talking about... They're like, oh, the other Mothra died in its fight with Godzilla. And I'm like, yeah, and there were two that hatched out of that egg. Where the hell's the second one? Like, there should be two Mothra larvae, but there's only one. But, I mean, it's a nitpicky thing.
I'm terrible at noticing stuff like that.
Like, I don't care that much, but...
See, I'm the reason that they don't care enough, because I forget about it.
Because they're like, they won't remember there's two.
Right.
Especially if they're watching them back to back, they won't remember that there's two.
Like I always say on all these, like, gotta watch a movie more than once before I'll remember it.
But, like, I was just like, I don't understand. Why? Where's the continuity guy? Who? And they made these the same year. It's not like they forgot. It's not like they made it 10 years ago and they're like, oh, we forgot there was another Mothra larva. Like, they're like, oh, we just left that one out. And then we have the princess, like, prophesizing all of these events that are going to happen. Yeah. So she prophesizes that Rodan will come out of a volcano, which they're like, oh, it's just erupting, it's fine. And then the guy loses his hat, and the other guy tells him, he's like, I'll go in and get your hat. And he's like, for 200 yen or 150 yen or something. He said some kind of money, and he's like, deal. So he's like, all right. So he goes down and gets the hat, but as he gets the hat, the mountain starts, like, breaking apart, and Rodan comes out and flies out and starts causing havoc. After she said Rodan was going to come out of there. So then she also said there was the boat that the fairies were supposed to go back to their island on left the harbor, but she warned them not to go, and Godzilla showed up in the harbor and destroyed the ship, and then, like, started to destroy the harbor.
But for no reason either. Like, he just pops up.
He just appears and destroys it, and then he starts following Rodan because Rodan was flying overhead. So he starts trailing Rodan at that point, and until they all meet up, he's trailing Rodan the entire time. So he doesn't really, like, he doesn't damage a city or anything like that. He just kind of follows along. And then, so Ghidorah shows up. Mothra, Rodan, and Godzilla all show up at Mount Fuji, which is where they all meet up. Godzilla has a fight with Rodan. Mothra shows up, and then the fairies translate for us that the monsters are talking to each other back and communicate, which is believable.
Yeah.
I mean, animals communicate. Yeah. So that, to me, I was like, that's not weird to me. Whatever, But
it does get weird.
Well, they're putting it into human words.
Yeah.
Like, making it sound like they're actually saying that, but they're just kind of, like, grunting and, like, growling at each other.
Well, it kind of gets weird because, like, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but one of them throws, like, a rock at the other.
Oh,
and,
Rodan, yeah.
And, like, it cuts to Rodan, and he's, like, laughing.
Oh, yeah. No, I absolutely love that.
I'm fine with it.
The
it's
little
just
humanized, like, things that they do.
Yeah.
Like, where Rodan, like, hits Godzilla with a rock and then just kind of chuckles to himself.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But,
I mean, I laughed.
Oh, yeah.
It just is kind of...
Oh, yeah, it's goofy.
It's kind of the start of some goofy stuff that we're going to run into.
Yeah. And, So Godzilla and Rodan are fighting, and Mothra breaks it up. And Mothra is trying to convince them both that they all three have to team up together to fight Ghidorah, because Ghidorah is going to destroy the Earth if they don't try to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
So Godzilla and Rodan basically say, yeah, we don't give a shit about the humans. They only want us dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's not our problem, blah, blah, blah. And Mothra's like, yeah, I get that, but, we still have to defend the Earth because it'll try to kill us, too. So Mothra has absolutely doesn't convince them at all. They're just like, whatever. So, but Rodan and Godzilla start to, like, set aside their differences because they're both disagreeing with what Mothra is saying. So they kind of, like, set aside their beef.
Yeah.
And Mothra's like, well, whatever, I'll go fight Ghidorah myself. So this little larva just starts to, like, trail down to where Ghidorah is and starts to fight him. And then Mothra is getting her ass kicked by Ghidorah, and then Godzilla just charges in out of nowhere to fight Ghidorah, and then Rodan shows up, and they all three start attacking it, and then there's a lot of really good, like, team-up things in this.
Yeah.
Like, Rodan has Mothra climb on his back, and he flies around while Mothra shoots the silk spray onto Ghidorah, and then there's a lot of fighting that goes on between Godzilla and Ghidorah, and then
I don't remember if it was this one or the next movie, but Rodan, he picks up Godzilla and, like, flies him and then releases him.
Oh, I think that's in the next one.
Is it the next one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in the next one.
Right.
But, and that's another cool thing is Rodan charges Ghidorah like he does in King of the Monsters, where Ghidorah's flying from one side, Rodan's flying from the other side, and they both collide in midair, and, like, he drops Ghidorah. I mean, he drops too, but he ends up, like, actually, like, smashing into him and dropping. But and the conclusion to it is Mothra silk sprays Ghidorah to the point where he's disoriented and flies away off into the sky, which no one knows where he goes, but he just flies off. And then the assassin who's trying to kill the princess almost succeeds, but Ghidorah, like, shoots lightning at the mountain, and the mountain explodes, and he ends up getting killed in the rock slide. So the princess has, like, a head injury at this point, and the Martian talk fades away, and she's perfectly normal, back to her normal self and everything. And everything is resolved. The monsters won against Ghidorah, and that's the conclusion to the movie. Going back and rewatching this, it's a lot better. Like I said to you, I haven't watched these two movies in probably 10 years.
Yeah.
So going back and watching them in, like, a different light, I was like, wow. I was like, these aren't half bad. I was like, these. I mean, it's goofy. Yeah. It's definitely has its goofy parts. But watching them, I'm like, these actually had some pretty well thought out plots and everything. I was like, this is pretty good. I mean, because you have, at least in this movie, the human characters. I was like, I'm following what's going on here.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Because this is actually, like, kind of intense. Like, these guys are trying to kill the princess. He's trying to keep her safe. There's some good
gunfight scenes.
Yeah.
Where they're shooting at each other.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those. This is one of those ones where, say what you will about the Showa series, but these had some actually decent human drama to them.
Yeah.
I was not. At no point was I ever like, I don't give a shit what the humans are doing. Just show me what the monsters are doing.
Because there are a lot where that is the case.
Oh yeah, and to me it was well balanced. To me, it had a perfect balance between monster action and human drama.
Yeah.
And it was human drama that actually kept me enthralled. Because, like I said, I haven't watched it in 10 years. I knew the basic plot, but I didn't remember all the details.
Yeah.
So I'm like sitting watching it, and I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah. I'm on board with this. Like, I'm intrigued. Like, let's keep this going.
Pause for a second.
Excuse me.
So moving on to Invasion of Astro-Monster. Is it Invasion of the Astro-Monster?
No, it's just Invasion of Astro-Monster,
right.
And the English title is Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, which is where Ghidorah gets his namesake in Godzilla King of the Monsters from 2019.
Which is weird that the HBO Max version of this movie is Invasion of Astro-Monster, but it's in English.
That's like super weird.
That is weird.
Because like I said, I watched it as Monster Zero on the Classic Media DVD because it has two different versions. You have the Japanese version and the English version. Of course, I watched the English version for this, but it's called Monster Zero in the English version, and it has a similar title sequence, but it's different. But when you just showed me it on HBO, I was like, why does it have the Japanese title sequence but everything's in English?
Yeah.
Like, it just confused the absolute hell out of me.
Yeah, I don't get it. And the previous one that we just talked about was in Japanese on HBO. So I'm not sure who's doing the uploading, but they're
somebody's picking and choosing just weird versions, and they're like, whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, that's neither here nor there, unless there's different things that happen. But
I don't think that there are.
Okay.
I'm pretty positive this is one of those that there's nothing changed in the English version.
So this one's pretty weird, to be honest. So aliens known as Exilians arrive on Earth seeking to borrow Godzilla and Rodan to save their planet from Monster Zero, who later we find out is King Ghidorah. But so these astronauts, I forget exactly how it started, but two astronauts go to this planet.
Yeah, that's actually how the movie starts. Is they're like, hey, we're sending an expedition to Planet X.
Because they find out it's behind Venus,
it's behind
right?
Jupiter.
Or Jupiter.
Yeah, it's behind Jupiter. It's on the dark side of Jupiter. So they go up there, and then they are, I'll say in quotations, greeted by the Exilians.
Yeah.
And they meet the controller of Planet X. So, but while they're on the surface, there's like a thunderstorm, and they're like, yo, what's up with that?
Right.
So then there's these cylinders that come up out of the center of the planet, and they tell them, get in, we'll come down, and like, I don't know about you, but like, if I was on this planet near Jupiter and this thing just popped up out of the ground, told me to get in, I'd be like, yeah, no,
right,
like, I'm not, like, I'm sorry, I'm not hopping in your weird capsule to come down below the ground because I'm gonna get killed. So they go down there, they meet the controller, and they're like, hey, what have you done with our ship? And he's like, it's fine, and shows them, hey, your ship's fine and everything. He's like, we need your help. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And then this monster starts to attack, and Glenn, who his namesake is after John Glenn.
Okay.
That's not his first name, but that's like a nod to the astronaut, that he recognizes that it's King Ghidorah is the monster, and the controller's like, yes, on Earth you call this monster King Ghidorah, and he says everything is numbered on our planet and the monster is zero. So they refer to him as Monster Zero. So he tells them, we know where Godzilla and Rodan are on Earth, and they're like, well, we haven't been able to find them. And it's like, yeah, well, we have technology that can find out where they are. And they're like, we need to borrow them to bring them up here to fight Ghidorah, get him off our planet, and then we'll return Godzilla and Rodan back to you and whatever. And in exchange, we'll give you a formula for this miracle drug that cures all diseases and blah, blah, blah. So they agree, and they're like, all right, yeah, we'll do it. So they go back to Earth. They tell everybody, hey, these aliens are going to be coming down. Nobody panic. Like, they're here to pick up Godzilla and Rodan. They're going to take them back to their planet. So they show up, and they find Godzilla at the bottom of a lake, and they pick him up. Then they take Rodan, who's like burrowed into the side of a mountain for some reason.
Which was a much better hiding spot than Godzilla.
Yeah, Godzilla was just like down at the bottom of the lake.
Because I was even like, you guys gonna find him right there?
Yeah, I'm like, you got a fish finder or something? I'm sure you'd be able to see him. But they pick up Godzilla and Rodan, and they take them back to Planet X. But they're able to like create some kind of a shield with oxygen that they can survive, so that they could fight King Ghidorah. So they do all that. They kick King Ghidorah's ass, the both of them, because they've done it before. So they're like, whatever, we got this. So they kick King Ghidorah's ass. He flies away, and they're like, hey, thanks for saving us. We're going to return them, and then we'll give you the tape, a cassette tape with the formula for this miracle drug. So they get down to Earth, and they're like, they drop Godzilla and Rodan off, and then they're like, okay, here's the tape. So at like the UN, they play the tape, and it's like, you're ordered to surrender. And they're like, yo, what? So
right before they play the tape, they were even like, well, is it the same technology that we have?
Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's a cassette.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, cool. So they play the tape, and they're like, you have 24 hours to surrender. And they're like, oh, they double-crossed us. And it's like, yeah, no shit.
So was the battle... Did King Ghidorah just leave because they wanted them to think that they won?
Yeah. They
okay.
wanted them to think that Godzilla and Rodan won, which we later find out that King Ghidorah is under the control of the Exilians the entire time. So... Rodan and Godzilla actually fight King Ghidorah, but before the Exilians return them, they put them under mind control as well. So Godzilla and Rodan return to Earth under Exilian control. So now all three monsters are under the aliens' control.
Yeah.
So now they can just take over the Earth because they have three titanic monsters. Who's going to stop them?
Right.
So our astronauts go on a mission to find out where their headquarters is and where they're broadcasting the signal that is keeping the monsters under the mind control, which is a house that's on an island off the coast or whatever. So
which was weird. I thought maybe it was their ship, like, kind of cloaking as a house.
No, that house was actually like their safe house, but there was a ship near the island too.
Yeah.
But so we have another character who is the fiance of astronaut Fuji's sister, who has created this noise amplifier that is just this annoying buzzing
thing
that they figure out, like, it's just an annoyance the entire time until they figure out that it can actually stop the frequency or jam the frequency that the monsters are under, and also drive the Exilians out of their goddamn minds. So
which they find a note because they're both incarcerated.
Yeah.
In this soundproof room.
Yeah.
Which I guess must be because of the.
Yeah, like, how did they know to make it soundproof? Were they just like, hey, this guy's got a buzzing machine, like, we need to soundproof this?
They made a specific thing to say that the bars were soundproof, too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does that work? But anyway. But she also plants a note in there, which I don't know how she would have known. Because remember, they find a note that says, hey, that device will drive them nuts. Like, she tells them.
Oh, yeah, Nemikawa tells them.
Yeah, whoever that.
Glenn's girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah, who is also an Exilian.
Right.
Who was sent to spy on them, but ends up, she actually falls in love with Glenn, and then she ends up getting killed because of this, because she frees them, and then one of the leaders finds out she's a traitor and vaporizes her.
Yeah.
Which leads Glenn on the warpath to kill these guys because they just killed his girlfriend.
What do he yell? You rats or something?
You rat bastard or something? Yeah. He says something very 60s.
Yeah.
You rat bastards, what you do to her? Yeah, he's like screaming at him and everything. Yeah. But he goes on the warpath to kill them, and so they end up, they build a big, like, tank thing that amplifies the frequency to jam the transmission that's controlling the monsters, but two, to also drive the Exilians out of their minds until they kill themselves.
It's very comical when they turn it on, because they're like just holding their ears, rolling on the floor.
And their ship is like just like teetering.
And then their ship,
their ship's like teetering up in the sky.
Which I don't know if that's because nobody's flying it, or if the sound actually hurts the ship too.
I'm guessing it's
because like it starts to burst into flame. Like
yeah, well, I think that's just because like no one's controlling like what's going on. So like when the ship is like teetering because the pilot's like going insane.
Yeah,
it's like causing all systems to malfunction.
I wasn't sure exactly what was going on.
And then something weirder happens where the controller says before he dies, he's like, we'll escape into the future, into that dimension we have never seen. And he's like, all of you join me and escape. And he hits a button and the ship explodes. And then they blow up the house using like tank rounds and missiles. They're like firing volleys at the house. And then it explodes. The ship explodes. Then Godzilla and Rodan are no longer under the control. They're back to their normal selves. And unfortunately, Ghidorah is no longer under control either, so he's just literally like a dummy, like standing there, doesn't know what to do, and Godzilla and Rodan kick the shit out of him and kick him like into the ocean.
Right.
And then he flies up out of the ocean and flies away like he did in the last movie.
Yeah.
But not before we get to see a lot of recycled stock footage from Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, because both monsters were in the last one, so they just recycled footage from that one to fill in the fight gaps. But this is another fun one. It's not as fluid as Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, but it is a lot of fun since half of it takes place in space. That was a neat little treat.
I think I enjoyed it more, and I hate that this not so much bothers me, but like with the other one being in Japanese, like I just have a harder time following. Like I was almost re-watching it as you were explaining it because like I just nothing stuck because it was all in Japanese. But for as weird as this one is, like because the aliens are clearly obviously just Japanese guys
tunics, tunics and Devo visors.
Yeah, they're like almost the laziest alien you can think of.
They're the laziest alien, but they're also pretty cool. Like
they're not bad. So what was I forget what I was gonna say.
You were saying for as goofy as it is.
Yeah, for as goofy as the whole movie is, I really did enjoy this one.
No, I definitely. This is definitely one of my more watch. Like when I was a kid, I remember watching this one a lot more.
Yeah.
And
I could see why.
It might have just been because it was space.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was like when I had the Godzilla toys when I was younger, like I'd make like a Planet X thing and like pretend they're fighting on Planet X and all that. I mean, it was
the whole thing. The whole concept is cool.
Yeah. I mean, you could never make that movie today and make it serious. It's just like it'd be like mixing Interstellar and Godzilla.
It couldn't be if it was made today. It couldn't be like something within our solar system because people would be like, "Nah, we know it's not there." You know,
although
because back then, like people didn't really know.
Although Titan is in our solar system.
Oh, yeah?
From Thanos.
Oh, okay.
Titan's one of the moons of Jupiter.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, people...
You go in there in Destiny. I just totally didn't even realize. But, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's... I
guess it could be done, but
it could weird. Be, but it would have to be rewritten to not be as goofy.
Yeah. It'd probably be actual aliens and not people.
Yeah, it'd be like Greys or something like that. But I mean, the people aliens work for the plot because then they're disguised when they're on Earth.
Right? Yeah. No.
Like it makes no like.
It could be a form that they took.
Yeah, you couldn't tell who they were. They were just people on Earth. So everybody was like, "Oh, that's just a guy."
Right.
Or that's just a girl. You know, there was nothing weird about it, like as far as them blending in. They were just there,
right?
And like the one guy is just like reading a newspaper and smoking a cigar, and I'm like, this dude like really assumed the part.
Yeah. Other than the girls all look the same.
Yeah.
For whatever reason,
they all have like the same bobbed hairstyle and everything.
I mean, she was pretty cute. I thought,
yeah.
But that's I guess neither here nor there. But so we want to go back and rate Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to go just from my experience, I'd go 6 out of 10. I think. It could be higher, if I, sit down and watch it in English and kind of get a better grasp on it.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6.5, just because plot's good, everything's pretty good, everything is, you can follow it well in the English version at least. Everything's pretty fluid. The monster, everything's well balanced, but I mean it's goofy. Like some of the stuff that happens is just very goofy. But I'd probably give it a 6.5. It's a good one. It's definitely like, I mean, I'm going to say that about all of these. It's a good one. Like, give it a watch. But I mean, it's definitely more, in my opinion, more well balanced than some of the other ones that we'll delve into.
Yeah, we haven't really.
It's very rushed. I should say that. I think that some of the stuff is very rushed because it was made the same year that Mothra vs. Godzilla was made. So I mean, like, they made Mothra vs. Godzilla, and then they're like, "Hey, we have an idea for a 3-headed dragon. Let's do that now!" And they like rush it into production and everything. Fun fact: Ghidorah was originally blue with red and gold wings. I'll have to show you a couple pictures.
Yeah, I gotta see that now. We made it through the whole discussion of Astro-Monster and didn't bring up one of the most iconic shots of Godzilla, where he's jumping on Planet X.
Oh, Godzilla dancing! Yeah, a happy moment. Yeah, that is.
I forgot to mention that.
I just saw a meme actually that was hilarious. It was talking about Godzilla, and it was talking about the Showa Godzilla, and it was talking about the 1954 Godzilla and every Godzilla after, and they're like. The last line was "can dance."
Can dance.
Yeah, and that was like a plus above Godzilla 1954. But yeah, that is Godzilla doing his jumping dance that has been that has shown up in like parodies and stuff like that. I mean, it's hilarious.
I mean, I've seen it just as a GIF on Facebook or something. I forget where, but so it was when it happened. I was like. Okay.
Now that makes sense.
That's where it's from. In context, it's fine. It's not as weird as it looks.
It was
out
his
of
victory
context.
dance.
Yeah. I mean, he was happy that they won.
Beat him, yeah.
So, scoring Astro-Monster, I'm going to go... It's not much higher, but I'm going to go 6.5 on this one. It worked. It's very goofy, but it all works. The human side of things on this one was fine too. One thing that was kind of weird, being that mine was in English. There's a very American guy. I forget which one he is. Is that Glenn?
Yeah, Nick Adams.
Like all of his stuff was shot in English. But like, everybody else was speaking like they were dubbed.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of weird to look at.
I think all the other actors that he was working with were speaking English to him, because if you watch, like, either he understood their Japanese or vice versa. Like, either they understood his English and just said their lines. Yeah. Like they knew when his.
Oh yeah, it was very fluid on that front.
Everything looks like it was meant to be like him talking in English, and then Fuji talking in Japanese. Like, I don't know, it was kind of like Han Solo and Chewbacca, where Chewie speaking a whole other language and Han speaking English.
Yeah, it's So that was just kind of weird. The first time that they spoke in the same scene, I was like, what? But
I would probably flip flop my scores with yours, because I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6.
Okay.
It's not as fluid or balanced, in my opinion, as Ghidorah was, but it's still very good.
Again, I think it worked better for me just because it was in English, but
yeah, I mean it's definitely a serviceable addition to the franchise, because there's a couple that aren't.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one of those. I don't want to even call it a diamond in the rough, but it's it's definitely it has charm to it. It has a charm to it. It has rewatchability.
Yeah,
you can definitely like if you're bored like on a rainy day.
I feel like both of these.
Like I can watch Invasion of Astro-Monster. Why not?
I think both of them are very much rewatchable.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean there are Godzilla movies that I've watched twice that I'm just like, meh. I don't care if I ever watch it again.
Yeah.
But
well, you're gonna have to.
I know. there will be a third time on a couple of these, finally, because I think one of them is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, and I love Space Godzilla. Yeah. But I've only ever watched it like twice.
Oh.
So I'll get to rewatch that one. Huh. That's later on down the line.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, a quick thought on we're this makes it 6 that we've watched.
Yes.
I would say that really only one of those was on the bad side so far. And that, Raids Again.
Yeah, Raids Again is definitely the lowest.
Yeah. So we're doing pretty good for now.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I lied. I watched Raids Again once.
Okay.
I didn't even rewatch it for it. I was just remembering things from it because I didn't even want to bring myself to rewatch Raids Again. I mean, I'll rewatch it eventually.
Yeah, someday. But
when we did the recap, I was like, I'll remember half of what actually happened because the first time watching this, I was like, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm very glad that they got away from the way that the battles are shot in that one because they're very fast and it looks weird.
Yeah, at least like the stuff that they do now is all in high speed, so when they slow it back down in playback, it looks. They kind of have more weight to them than just them slapping each other around in the latex suits where they look like Muppets just beating the holy hell out of each other.
That's what my brother had said because he wasn't like watching it, but he was watching the fight scene. Mm-hmm. He's like, this looks like Sesame Street with fighting.
That'd be awesome.
I'm like, yeah, bring in Big Bird. Where's he at?
That would be awesome.
I think it would be. All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 3 of Subplot, the Godzilla series. The responses to these episodes have been great.
Yeah, they really have.
The views and whatever, so...
I mean, whoever you guys are, make yourselves known.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can thank you,
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys taking time to listen to us two schmucks talk about Godzilla for an hour and 15 minutes of your life.
And that goes for anybody that also listens to the mainline podcast, because those numbers are rising as well.
Yeah.
Our most played episode was actually the last one. Steam Boy and
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody that's been listening. Reach out on Twitter, Facebook, whatever,
Insta,
whatever platform you have, and we will gladly interact with y'all. So yeah, thank you, and we will catch you on the next episode.